Well, welcome, episode 5, Let's Chat. We are live today. I'm David Berry, and my very nervous co-host today, Graham Cooper. Mate, how are you feeling live on air?
Mate, I'm freaking out a little bit, but we'll see how we go, hey?
Well, we've got a great jam-packed show for you today. Plenty of rugby to talk about. Happy to be here and happy to be talking about rugby. I say this every week, but it's just so good to have it back. So let's get straight into it. Let's go straight into the Premier Grade results from the weekend. First cab off the rank, UWA defeated Wanneroo 36-29 up at Kingsway. To be honest, I said this last week, Wanneroo are going to push a few teams. UWA is a damn good team.
Yep.
And that's a pretty close game.
Yeah, by all accounts, was an absolute cracker down at, I think it was played up at Wanneroo.
Yep.
So at the Kennel. Unfortunately, the Wanneroo boys couldn't get up there, but mate, that UWA is pretty sharp.
Yeah,
so.
And that Wanneroo forward pack's going to keep pushing them all year. So keep going, Roo Dogs, you'll get there. Next up, Southern Lions got over the top of Coastal Cavaliers. Looked like another cracker, 30-22. I think the Coastal Cavs will be licking their wounds knowing that could have been a game they could have won.
That's it. Battle of the South. Obviously, going up to Southern Lions on that game, I think the Cavs wanted to take away the chocolates, but no, not this case.
Yeah. Cottesloe defeated Kalamunda. Now, Coops, tell me about this one. You were in the middle. How did it go?
Yeah, mate, first 30 minutes was an absolute bash fest.
Yeah, and we did say this off air last week that we knew that game was going to be pretty full on up front. So
yeah, obviously a couple of the front rowers, the Cott team used to play at Calla, and the boys wanted to get over the top of each other. Mate, Cott just too fit and too skillful in the end. The Calla boys run out a bit of puff.
Yeah, Cott also playing without their fearless leader, Tobias Hoskins. He was out with a sore groin. Not sure how that happened. We might try to get to the bottom of that. But hopefully Hoskins back in the side this week. Actually, word on the street, Hoskins might be playing in the centres this week as they've gone down with an injury to Greggy Hunt. So Todd might slip back into the old 12 jersey, which would be very interesting. But mate, he's a bloody good leader for that club. He'll get out there, play his role, and I think he's just treating it like there's just a different number on his back, and he'll just do what he's got to do. So good luck to the girls next weekend. Palmyra really got over the top of West Scarborough, 40-24, pretty much cementing themselves as probably the front runner for the comp at the moment. Just an electric team. Did you hear anything about that game, Graham?
Mate, I think the Pally boys just really enthused the young West Scarborough boys, and I think beat them around a little bit physically as well. So I think Pally v Cott, obviously we'll talk about a little bit later, but yeah. I think that's going to see where they both are at and who's leading the way in regards to who's going to take away the premiership this year.
Yeah, it's a good point also about West having a young team, and I really appreciate that they're blooding a few young players and trying to think about the next few years ahead, and I think that's what a good club does. Next up, Nedlands absolutely pumped ARKs 55-5. Nedlands who have been probably a little bit off the last 2 weeks as well, so ARKs really just need to try and pick up that game there and try and get a few more points on the board. I think Russell Burgess, is he still out there?
I believe so.
He's a gun, absolute stalwart. I really would love to see him get a few wins on the board this year. And Joondalup gave Curtin a touch-up, 62-5. Curtin again with ARKs winless so far this season, but That's a bloody good score from Joondalup, and I think Joondalup's one of those teams this year, when they got it right, they're going really well.
Yeah, totally agree. I think, once again, pretty young side. They haven't been able to recruit as many people as other clubs, so they're relying on that youth in their club that have come through the pathway. So they'll upset a few people, but on their day, they're pretty handy.
Absolutely. And the last one that I actually saw was Soaks Associates taking on Perth Bayswater. Out at Pat O'Hara in the lovely Perth Bayswater area there, Soaks got over 43-12 in a pretty comfortable win. Al Rivera, the number 8, was pretty good this week, making a fair few tackles. Came off with a sore neck when they were 40 points up and thought, I've done my job here, I'll come off.
Mate, not sure about the headgear that bloke's rolling around in for green and yellow. I think sort that out, mate.
I think it's because he's trying to get a few ref votes, mate. That's why he's wearing that
headgear.
PG
votes, yeah.
Good on him. Soaks also looking really good this season. Very excited in a few weeks' time when they take on Cottesloe for the Battle of Broome Street. That's going to be absolutely massive. But once again, they've turned up again this year with a solid team, and they're going to be right up there this year when it comes finals time. So that's it. That's the wrap for round 3 of the Fortescue Premier Grade. Let's move on, Coops. Super Rugby. The Western Force playing their first game in 3 years. How good was it seeing them out there?
Mate, they played outstandingly well, I think, for their first time back in Super Rugby. Obviously, being out of that competition for a while, they really stood up and pretty much through the kitchen sink at the Tars.
Yeah, I agree. And look, they went down 23-14 in a pretty good game. And to be honest, they had their chances. I spoke to Ian Pryor, the captain, earlier this week and just said, mate, where do you think they went wrong? And he said, mate, we just figuratively and literally dropped the ball. Yeah. That's basically what he said. There were times where they just probably weren't in the moment enough, I think. And that comes with being a young team, on the big stage, back in Super Rugby, those sorts of things. But tell you what, their first 20 minutes, the Tars, I reckon, were a little frightened.
Oh, definitely. And I think, a couple of drop balls. Obviously, the conditions weren't amazing in Sydney over the weekend. So hopefully this weekend up in Queensland with a bit of dry footy, they can have another crack.
Yeah, I tell you who I'm looking forward to seeing playing dry footy is Byron Ralston. Oh. He was unbelievable. Not only did he score the first try for the Force, which was also elite, tough, in the corner, got rid of the 10 from New South Wales Waratahs with ease, dotted it down, looked like he'd been out there for 50 games.
Yeah, I think the Reds are kicking themselves that they haven't picked him through their pathways, come through that Premier Grade pathway in Queensland and showing his true colours. I know that he was in the Aussie Under-20 squad this year as well, so he's obviously a handy footy player.
And once again, the Force just, taking an opportunity and grabbing him and playing him, and they're now showing fruition. He's a good player and he's going to keep playing good footy. Coops, one thing I want to talk about, the 50-22 ruling. I love this. As a former AFL player, convert to the game of rugby, love the 50-22. I think Jono Lance was trying throughout the game. He just couldn't quite get the right opportunity, but we saw Carmichael Hunt absolutely nail it at one point of the game. Actually, I think twice in the game. Yeah. So I think the Waratahs looked like they may have been, practicing that throughout the last couple of weeks to try and get that, because it's such an advantage.
Yeah, yeah, and I think off turnover ball, where a couple of those kicks came from, Carmichael is key for the 50-22.
Yep.
Obviously, in set plays, you're going to have people in the backfield defending that kick. So I think turnover ball's crucial.
Yep.
And it's a massive momentum change. Let's say you're 60 metres out, you put it in the 22, you then have an attacking line out. Changes the game pretty much.
And just the mindset of a player, you're in the depths of your defence, and then all of a sudden you might be out wide scoring a try. It just does a lot for a team. I love that rule. And I think the last thing probably about that game, just to round up the loss, is the Tars just showed probably a bit of maturity in getting over the line. And I think the Force, maybe that's where they probably lacked. I think where Tim Sampson will want to see, what he'll want to see this week, is the Force play the full game.
Yeah, I think you could see the likes of a Michael Hooper in that game, especially in that second half, really lead his team and make some good decisions with the ball and things like that. So obviously, the Force boys need to learn from that second half and put it into practice against the Reds this week.
Absolutely. On that, tonight, the Force take on the Reds at home over there in Queensland. Huge game. It's live on Fox Sports and KO. This is going to be a ripper. Let's go to the team. No changes to the starting 15, but I have seen that Ollie Atkins has come in, the new signing. Johan Bardul goes out. Interesting choice. I'm looking forward to seeing Ollie Atkins out there. It's probably been a while since he's played professional footy, so good to see how he goes.
Yeah, and I think starting on the lineup, I think the no changes is just, Tim Sampson really backing the boys in on their performance last week.
Yep.
If you look at that front row, held their own, if not got, dominance over the Tars front row. Obviously, this week, different story with that massive Reds front row, especially Tupou at tight head.
The whole pack.
Yeah, so I think, to back the boys in again, I think it's good to see. And then, obviously, Ollie Atkins with a bit of height coming in the second half, hopefully changes that set piece as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be very interesting. And I think this game is going to be forward pack v forward pack. I think this is a huge game for the Western Force back row, because they're playing one of the elite young back rows of the competition at the moment.
Yeah, mate, McWright, Wilson, obviously playing well beyond their years, obviously 20, 21 years old.
Yep.
Holding up against the likes of a Hooper last weekend, for example, cracking back row. Yeah, Tev, Henry, got their work cut out for them this week.
Absolutely,
sure.
Should be great. The one player I do want to talk about, not in the side this week, but we announced him as a new signing this week, is Richard Kahui. He was the 2011 World Cup wonder boy, just came out of nowhere and absolutely dominated on the world stage. We've signed him in the week. He's currently living in the Gold Coast, still looks in elite nick.
Athlete.
And if you go back, the Western Force put up a few of his highlights this week, and he used to shot people into next week. He's an incredible defender. I really want to see him in the side, but how does he fit? Where does he go?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, a big unit traditionally plays 13 or wing. I think you could put him in either spot, but at the end of the day, like the centre pairings for the Force at the moment with Nick Juice, Marcy, and obviously Kyle on the bench, like where do you fit him in the centres? And then our wingers putting in some good... You wouldn't be punting Ralston, for example.
No, absolutely not.
So, it's a tough decision for Sambo and the boys. So, yeah.
It is, because I keep thinking, when is Kyle Godwin going to be in a starting jersey? But I just, at the moment, you can't put him in, because Marcel Braki was unreal last week.
Yep.
And I thought Nick Juiced, who's not probably a natural 12, actually played one of the best games I've seen him play. Ran the ball, drew defenders. I thought he was really, really good. So it's great that they've got this competitiveness in the team at the moment, because that breeds good culture and good footy. So
it's one of those things, Dave. Can you leave Richard Kahui out of your team? Oof. That's the big question.
It's a big... Sambo, that's up to you, mate. I'll leave that to you. You know what you're doing. Now, let's talk... This is a massive rivalry game. And if you just look at the Force team, I think we counted before the show, Coops, 5 former Reds or Reds listed players. You know, we've got... Who have we got here? We got Ian Pryor, Jono Lance, Brian Ralston was there and thereabouts for a really long time. Andrew Reedy played a lot of footy for them. Greg Holmes, 100 cap Red player. So there are some guys coming in with a bit of feeling towards this club. And we saw Brad Thorne during the week really pump up Jono Lance, saying he should be proud and show pride when he comes and plays against us, to know that if he sees the Reds play well, that he was part of that. And I thought that was an amazing thing to say from the opposition coach.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to Jono Lance as a person and as a teammate. Obviously puts the team first a lot of the time over his own performance. And yeah, I think there's gonna be a bit of feeling. They're not going to hold back. They're going to throw, like I said again, the kitchen sink at it. It's just, I think that tight 5, if whoever wins that battle is going to win the game, I think.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Coops. I think it'll be a good battle out wide, but I think up front is where it's going to be. Now, talking of the rivalry, the Force put together a pretty epic clip this week. They've basically called it Rivalries Reignite, and it gives me chills. I love this stuff, but it's just awesome to see the players talk about just how much this game means to them, and it's going to be huge this weekend. Check it out.
They're a young, bruising pack. One of those games you sort of come out from and you definitely felt like you've played.
Reds have been building a really...
They're a young, bruising pack. One of those games you sort of come out from and you definitely felt like you've played.
Well, Coops, goosebumps?
Yeah, mate, can't wait. Should be another good weekend of Super Rugby AU.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know Ian Sitchy Pryor is very excited to play his former side. There's a few players there that he knows well, and he'll want to get the best of a few of them this week. So that's going to be a cracker. Now let's move on. Fortescue Premier Grade fixtures for this week. A couple of very, very tasty games coming up. First off the rank, UWA taking on Cottesloe, or is that, sorry, Coastal Cavaliers. Yeah, sorry, a bit of a misprint on here, Harry. That's all right, mate. UWA taking on the Coastal Cavs up at McGillivray. My favourite ground to watch a game of rugby. The Hill, grab a beer, sit down. How good is it?
The billiard table, as I call it. Love to run out at UWA. The field's always great. Yeah, mate, UWA at home. Obviously running down West Scarborough back there in round 1. Yep. I think that they're going to get the bickies in this one. Cavs need to put in a full 80-minute performance to run down the young side.
That's right. I totally agree with that. Now, this is a cracker game. Not match of the round, but I think this will be a really, really good game. Palmyra taking on 2019 Premiers Cottesloe. This is a big one. Down at Tompkins Park, Cott will want to win this. But Pally will also want to win it to show that they're here to play and they're here to win the flag this season. So I'm going to try and get down there and watch that one this week, Coops.
Yeah, I think this one in particular, a bit of inside goss, potentially Hoskins playing in the centre pairing. Arguably the best centre pairing in the comp comes from that Pally team with the 2 youngsters playing 12 and 13 there. it'll be an absolute cracker.
That's right. I think they will have Ali Haining and Top Hoskins will have their work cut out for them there. But I tell you, they're two pretty good defenders, probably nearly the two best in the comp. So those Pally boys will have to be running hard and fast, but that is going to be delicious, as Bruce McAvaney would say. Next up, Southern Lions taking on Netherlands. I think Netties might take the Bickies here as well.
Oh, mate, Southern Lions got the win on the weekend.
You're pumped up, you reckon?
I don't know. Southern Lions set pieces a little bit better this year, but just got the word that Big Heath Tessman might be pulling on the jersey for Netties this week.
That's fresh off the press, by the way. We've just got a text through from Heath Tessman. He's saying, I'm in, I'm playing. So a club Western Force stalwart, absolute gun in the scrum, Heath Tessman, is playing for Netties this week. That's a big boost to that club.
Well, especially propping against Big Damo Pacheco. That's a big front row now.
Yeah.
So big shout out to those two. Hopefully a big game for Big Heathy.
Big boys make the big noise. I like it. Soaks take on Wanneroo down at the Boneyard this week. That'll be a good game, I think. I think Soaks have packed their forward pack this season, and Wanneroo, as I've always said, they're looking really good up in that front eight. So that could be a little tasty little game.
Yeah, I think the Soaks boys, is it their first game at home this year?
I think it is.
Yeah, so they'd obviously want to get the win at home, but that Wanneroo team having a close loss last week, I think are going to get up and about for this one.
Totally agree. And I think any club loves playing against associates at home. So if you can win there, it's a pretty good feeling. So I think they'll be up and about. West Scarborough take on Kalamunda. This will be another one. Like you said, the first 20, 30 minutes are going to be abrasive. And I guess this is where we'll see whether that young West Scarborough team can stand up and take on a team like Kalamunda. But that, to me, is going to be a tight one.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, Dave, the Cala boys are going to want to come out and absolutely whack the young guys and rattle them early, I think. And if those West's youngsters can hold their own and compose themselves through that first 30 minutes, I think their fitness and skill at the back end is going to run away with it as well.
Love that, Cooper Werner. Next up, Joondalup Brothers taking on Perth Bayswater. This could be a chance for Baysy to get their first win on the board. But Joondalup will be very keen to keep that train running. Good win against Curtin last week. They'll want to keep that momentum going. Up at HBF Arena up there in Joondalup. Could go either way, this one.
Yeah, and like we mentioned earlier, it's that Joondalup team where, are they going to have consistency this year? I think this is a game that they need to show that they can come out and perform for another 80 minutes. And obviously that Perth Bayswater team, obviously want to turn some heads as well. So
yeah, absolutely. I agree. Could be a good
interesting
game. Match of the round. We love this. I would say it's probably Battle of the Cellar Dwellers this year. ARKs taking on Curtin out at Edinburgh Oval. Should be an absolute belter. Now, this is an important game for these clubs because I think they're probably both, they probably know they're not going to win a lot of footy this year. So when you get the chance to win a game, you need to take it because it does so much for the culture of the club. And I already know Curtin University, they don't win a lot of footy in Premier Grade footy, but it is a great club. They've got a great feeling. So they'll want to turn up and win this one.
Could it be a draw, Dave?
Ooh, I don't mind that. If I was a betting man, I would get on that.
No, you're right. Obviously, to get your first win of the season is important for any club, and this is an opportunity for them to do that. So, yeah, we'll see.
So that'll be live streamed, LMSC online. You can find it on Rugby WA community Facebook page as well. Huge, massive week of rugby footy in WA. Moving on, my favourite segment, TMO Clip of the Week. Absolutely love this one. This one comes from Mandra, I believe. It's a pretty good little clip, actually. And I love this segment. We get something new in every week. Harry just trowels the line for something to put on. So take a look at this and we'll have a chat afterwards.
Stay, prep. Wait!
And then resting him a little bit.
Well, there you go. I think if MJ loves it, then you've got to love it. But there's just so many brilliant things in that one clip of, it's 20 seconds long? Yeah. You've got, the 10's, probably not the fittest bloke in the world. He's got a mullet that nearly goes down in between his shoulder blades. He then puts in a perfect chip, to which looks like possibly a Fijian winger who should be playing first grade somewhere, just comes in, steps the fullback, scores under the post. It's unbelievable.
Mate, yeah. What more can you want, really?
Absolutely love it. That's why we love rugby, because it's a game for all sorts. Anyone can play. Coops, great episode of Let's Chat. Thanks for joining me again.
Survived live.
Survive live. That's going to be the hashtag, I think. We loved it. Love going live to the public. We're going to come back next week with even more. Hopefully we come back with a force win against the Reds. Get down and watch a Premier Grade footy game this week, or any game of community rugby. Get down and support it, because we're back in Perth, and that's why we love it. Thanks for joining us on Let's Chat.